When he passed away in 2008, Joe Huber was a long-standing legend as the area's foremost farmer and businessman. But it was clear even in his earliest years that Joe's love for the land was something special.
Joe and I grew up in a family of 11 children, so big family. And Joe was the one guy that on a hot July afternoon when it was 95 degrees and we were out in the middle of a cucumber field, 10 of us thought it was hell, but Joe thought it was heaven.
When he was 17, his father chose him to manage the farm. In 1967, the torch was passed when Joe purchased it. But it quickly became apparent that the farming business had changed, and to survive, Joe would have to change along with it.
When they first started farming, they grew produce for the local markets. When the California fruit cooperatives began to make year-round deals with supermarket chains, that market started to disappear. So they decided what's next, and they thought they would try marketing direct, and they were very good at it.
Very good at it indeed. Almost as soon as Joe and his wife Bonnie introduced the concept of marketing direct, or you-pick farming, it proved to be a huge hit.
He put the ad in the paper and the people came by the carloads from Louisville, and all of us kids were in the background snickering, going, oh my gosh, these city people think this is fun. They're actually paying us to come and pick this.
In those days, you could open up a strawberry field and at 6:30 in the morning, there'd be all kinds of people, I mean several hundred people waiting to get into that field. When sweet corn came into season, there'd be people just waiting early in the morning, and green beans, I couldn't believe the people that came out to pick like green beans. It was that way with so many of the crops.
Given the success of the you-pick concept, many men would have been satisfied with their success. But Joe and Bonnie realized they'd only scratched the surface of their potential success, and in 1983, the next part of the Huber legend became reality.
They pretty quickly decided that the business that they were in was really entertainment farming. And so they began to explore that avenue of business and develop that avenue of business.
That avenue of business led to the opening of the Joe Huber Family Restaurant, which today is one of the biggest restaurant success stories in the region. But at the time, it was a bet on the future that was hardly a sure thing.
He had more people tell him that you are crazy, there is no way, the restaurant business is all about location and look where you are. Most people around him really discouraged him. I know that my mother was very hesitant, and he was like, don't you worry, I'll make it happen, and that was his motto. I will make it happen, and whatever he decided he was going to make happen, he did make happen.
Joe often commented, he said, you know, one of the best things that ever happened to us is that we didn't know what we didn't know about the restaurant business when we got into it. And so it was a great learning process for them, but they really got into it wholehearted, and Joe and Bonnie and their children, their family, really have made a success of it.
It was a success that may have had its roots in small-town southern Indiana, but the name Joe Huber came to mean a lot, far beyond any local boundaries.
You know, a lot of people don't know exactly how far the legend of Joe Huber goes. Well, Joe Huber's expertise and Joe Huber's reputation was all over this country, and I ran into it on many occasions.
Hard work and dedication to quality turned Joe Huber's family farm and restaurant into a tremendous success. But despite Joe's pride in his business, those who knew him best always understood there were other things he valued even more.
He would do anything for his family. He would do anything for anybody, actually. He was a very, very giving person.
He was a really thoughtful person, and he was a really loving person. And he knew that when there was a time to speak and there was a time to listen, and you could always count on him for that.
Everybody who knew Joe was a friend of Joe's. He was easy to get to know, made everybody comfortable, and was someone who always wanted to share his good fortunes with other people.
Whether it was raising a family, making friends, or growing a family farm into a wildly successful regional business, Joe Huber had the ultimate green thumb. And while he's no longer with us, his brand of success will always be remembered and valued by everyone whose lives he touched.
I think the relationship that Joe had with life in general is a very poignant lesson about how business and life should be thought of as one. There's no stronger essence of a good businessman than to be a good business man. And Joe Huber was a good business man.